Hi guys, the name is Mark, and basically we're just going to do some simple things here and just prove to people that I'm not pulling this stuff out of, pulling this shit out of my ass, right? Now this is Black's Law 9, hopefully you guys can see this, and this says birth certificate here, and it says a form all, these are forms, right? These are documents, so it says a form all, document. Obviously somebody has documented something about men on these forms, names. Now, so it says a formal document that records, stuff has been recorded on this, right? We can see where we're going with this. A person's birth date, birthplace, and parentage. In all 50 states, an adopted child receives a second birth certificate reflecting his or her adoptive parents. So it starts off with this statement of a live birth. Now, I don't have a copy of the birth certificate. I sent all that stuff back to the government, but effectively these are the government's papers. Nowhere do you see my name on this paper. Okay, so this is the government's, and we'll call this a voucher at the moment. But they're placing a claim on you, and they're putting you inside a frame, indeed, that if within 7 years, if your parents don't come along or you don't come along to claim that you are not a citizen of slave status, that you will become a slave. Okay, now it says here, it says, for the purposes, so we're just going to finish this, a formal document that records a person's birth date, birthplace, and parentage. In all 50 states, an adopted child receives a second birth certificate reflecting his or her adoptive parents. In this case, it would have been Canada, and it would have been the government of Ontario, which is stated there by Judith M. Hartman. Now, in such a case, the original birth certificate is usually sealed and can only be opened by a court order. So all you people running around laying claims, not to the statement, but to the birth certificate, claiming that it's your birth certificate, well, obviously it's not your birth certificate because they would send you the original. But they're not sending you the original. So that tells you that this is not your property. This is their property, P-R-O, rows in on the ship, and you've been tied to this. So people, now it says, how do I know that they're throwing this up as salvage? Because this is the salvation that they speak of in the Bible. 7 years is the divine number for creation and all that stuff. And it says here, for deserted child. So nobody ever came along and claimed this kid within 7 years, and the government of Canada came along and issued a birth certificate claiming that they're claiming the birth of this individual, individual person, and this is the person. I cannot be a person. I am the flesh, okay? There's a huge difference, but nowhere in this document has my signature, and nowhere on a birth certificate does it have my signature. So they come along and they say 7 years later that, listen, this kid was a deserted child, and we scooped up that person, that baby, those documents, and now we said they're our own. And it says deserted child 4.1. For the purposes of paragraph 3.1a, every person who before apparently attaining the age of 7 years was found as a deserted child in Canada shall be deemed to have been born in Canada unless, get this, what? The contrary is proved within 7 years from the date the person was found. So you come along and you make sure that everything you do, you get certificated and authenticated or apostilled in the States, authentications in the Commonwealth usually, and effectively if you don't do this, I'm telling you now, people, that you will wind up in jail. So it's funny because the biggest video that I put out called Reclaiming Your Children, which I would have thought would have been the biggest video on earth, because obviously people would not want to knowingly run around knowing that their children are slaves and that they were deserted children, and the government came up and said, hey, we're adopting them, and it says right here, you know, that basically an adopted child receives a second birth certificate reflecting his or her adoptive parents. And it states here in the Citizenship Act that they've claimed your children. So obviously they're not your children, otherwise you wouldn't be called a parent, because why are parents called pay rent? They're called parents because they pay rent, just add a Y, P-A rent. Why does the Queen Mum send you a child tax allowance credit? Is because she's sending you that to help look after her kid, which became a can I die in citizen. Okay, so this is no respect to the government, because obviously they're just dead, and they're just words on a name on a piece of paper, right? So now that we've established that, we're going to come to a little thing called service. Now, again, this is no disrespect to service credit unions, because obviously they know what they're talking about, because if you read the Canadian Indetermination and Control Ownership Act, it states that basically the only ones who have rights are bankers, and that's why they print on their money "In God We Trust," because they're allowing you to use the slave's currency, and they're not using it because they know better than to trust in God by using a dead piece of paper, which is a corpse or a corpsoration or a sold yours, sold yours, sold die, are. Sold your soul, maybe, right? When they do, they trade your soul on the stock exchange, right? Like people, and they call it soul trading, man. Like, you people better wake up here. And so it says service is in Serve Us Credit Union. That's exactly how it's spelled. It says a slave. Roman law. A slave. A human being who was propertied and could be bought, sold, pledged, and testated. Back in the day, if you testated at something, testated, and you did not pass that test, well, what they would do is basically put your nuts in a vice. They would call that advice, and they would squish your testicles or chop off your testicles, and that's where that word testate comes from, in fact. So, your testes, to be exact. A Roman slave who was formerly freed became a Roman citizen. Look at the words row, R-O-W, and man, and obviously they deal on the ship. So, now we're going to come up here. And it says here, so we've established what service is, we've established what a deserted child is, we've established what a birth certificate is. So simple. And then it says here, it comes up and it says here, limitation, with respect to any period before the coming into force of this subsection. Sub means lower, below this section. Subsection 7 does not have the effect of conferring on a person, not your son, their son, any rights, powers, or privileges, or imposing on any person any obligations, duties, or liabilities, okay? Under any act of parliament, just add the T for title, other than this act, or any other law. And then it goes on to blah, 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 no action or proceedings, to seed like a pro, for damages, age of the dam, based on the lower subsection 7, may be brought against Her Majesty in right of Canada or any officers, off ice are, employees or agents of Her Majesty in right of Canada in respect of anything done or omitted to be done. So what they're telling you right here is there's a limitation and you can't do nothing. You can't sue these people because they've all agreed to be names, hence corporations, corpse at ion, hence in the ionosphere. Maybe you live in the atmosphere, right? And you get a net paycheck at the end of the week. Why? Because you're part of the planet, the net plant, obviously. And it's all about accounting, to count. So now, how can anybody confer any rights, privileges, or due ties issued on a piece of paper? Obviously you can't. This is a corpse. This is dead. Here's Alberta. There's the corporation. There's Canada. There's the corpse ation. So if you're telling me you want to go sue these people, even the civil liabilities of the Crown, read that book. And you know what it says? Well, basically, if the Crown was alive, but we're not, we're dead, you can't sue us. So try suing the dead. That's the joke, people, obviously, right? So now, effectively, what's going on here, we've established what a deserted child is. We've established what an adopted child is. It starts off, the child was deserted with one of these. You had 7 years to come along and certify the fact that this is my kid, and you never did. And all you had to say was, listen, this kid has been found within the age of 7 years. This has been proven. This has been documented, docked by men, right? And that's that. And there you go. And you get it authenticated, and that's that. So now, if all you people don't want to deal in certificates, and we've established what a certificate is in my Enemy of the State video, stating that it's an assurance. So there's assurances going on here in their fictitious world. So effectively, that's what you got there. Now, it starts off with the Ontario birth certificates, and look what we've got here. Birth certificates. Everything this government does has been certificated. So if you people think you're going to just write mindless stuff on a piece of paper without having it certificated, when you started off getting into the system with them certificating it, you get out with you getting it certificated and sending it back to them, but always keep your original. Anyhow, so we deal in certificates. Official, off ice, IC, all, government, is sued. They're getting ready to sue you people. And notice how nobody takes any liability for this whatsoever. It says, I need, select this, select that. Then you become an applicant. Why? Because you can't lie, obviously. And then you become the person who is the subject of the birth certificate and is at least 13 years old. Can you imagine that? A parent of the person who is subject to the certificate. People, come on, please. I can't keep this stuff any simpler. If I keep this any simpler, I'm going to yak. I'm going to puke, because I just cannot believe the overwhelming stupidity of people out there running around, signing up, and applying for these things to say, oh, I'm a person, and then they go to court and they're saying, oh, well, I'm not a person. You got no contract with me. Meanwhile, they even paid for this and had a processing time and paid a fee. So can you imagine? And look at the words. If you are lying, you want to become a liar, the Bible tells you not to lie. For an Ontario birth certificate to sue ports, all about the ports and changing ports, and they'll call that Revenue Canada, in fact, to sue port and application. So you're going into court, well, you're going, well, I'm not that person. The judge is going, okay, well, if you're not that person, did you sign a contract? Oh, yeah, it appears you did sign a contract to be this person. So if you want to use Satan's side, by all means, you use Satan's side, then they will use your lovely tax-paying dollars on that. And this goes out to everybody. I don't care who you are. They're using your tax-paying dollars to go murder your fellow people across the globe. And even the Alberta Rules of Court states that it's at war with aliens, man. Look at the words. A-L-I-N, A-L-I-N, or M. Man, you want to be a liar and you want to be a lean able, well, hey, they will come along and they will lean you, and if you don't pay that debt, they'll simply throw you in jail till that bond/debt matures and you get released, and that's that, right? Even look at the words release. Yeah, it says in the charter that they will release you if the arrest is unlawful. Well, of course they will release you, because they're re-signing you. You're signing yourself back into a lease, which equals a contract. So we've established all that. And now, maybe one other little thing here too. You know what? I'm not even going to go there. I just keep proving stuff. Now we're going to look at the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Look at the word charter. If you read a charter, basically what it is, it's policies for the ship. Now, how can you have any rights if you're on a ship? That's an oxymoron. Your rights came from God. When I say rights, I don't even mean rights. I mean the grace of God and freedom. So if you want to be free to be dumb, I'm sorry, people, but you run around and just be free to be dumb, okay? And they'll call that fundamental justice, F-U-N-D, fund a men, all just us, okay? Not you. Justice does not mean you, does not equal you. Guarantee of rights and freedoms. Oh, doesn't that just sound so promising? The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject below only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law. Okay, whoever buys the laws, B-U-Y, has bought those laws, as can be demonstrably, look at the words, demons, straw, ably, maybe you're straw man, I'm just reaching out there on a limb, that's bullshit, but justified in a free and democratic society. Now, we've just established demo is one end short of being demon. Okay, so if you want to deal with a bunch of demons and a CRA, Canada Revenue Agency to be exact, and a tick, well, of course they're ticks. They'll get into your skin like ticks when they're coming to pay, when they're coming to collect for you, paying for your sins. Everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. So you can have all the freedoms in the world if you want. If you're like O.J. Simpson and you can afford to pay. Look at the words. Fund a meant all freedoms. God never charged you for nothing. You never had to came out of the Garden of Eden and start covering up your privates and making that public. Only a retard would do this. Like, I'm sorry, people. I'm just the blasphemy and the stupidity out there is running goddamn rampant. And I don't know if there's just too much fluoride in the water or what's going on, but people better wake up. Now, I'm not talking another water term. So everyone has the following fundamental freedom. So you can have all the freedoms in the world if you got their fake fictitious money. So freedom of conscience and conscience and religion. Look at the words religion. R-E-L-I. Rely. If you want to rely ion, okay, in the ionosphere, atmosphere maybe, in atmosphere, on the planet, okay, for a lesson, less on, you can believe in religion because you can they're just lies. They're telling you lies. So if you want to rely on the reliability, the ability to rely, well, by all means, maybe you should join a religion and you should worship a bunch of pagans, and look at the words pay again. You will pay again. So freedom of thought, belief, and opinions and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. So you can have freedom of conscience and religion in jail. That's why they give you a Bible in jail. Like, I mean, people, I can't make this up. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression. You can have all that in jail too, including freedom of the press. Who cares? What does this shit mean? Freedom of peaceful assembly? Ooh, you can sit there with your neighbors. Freedom of dumb and free of association? No, I'm not tying myself to no societies. Democratic rights. Oh, demo. Usually demo is short for demolish or demon. Canada revenue. A tick. Rights. Yeah, they have rights, and that's why in the States they call this a Bill of Rights, because if you're a citizen, you're a slave. We've established what service means. It's Roman law, deals in civil, see I will, see evil, and hence that equals demon. Canada revenue is a tick. Rights. I'm sorry. So, but if you want the demo to the democratic rights of citizens, every citizen of Canada has the right to vote in an election. You have the right to go like this and vote somebody who's already the major shareholder and has 51%. So your vote don't count. So if you think that your vote counts, I'm sorry, people, that's just a ticket to slavery. They'll drop a bond off this. They'll certificate that you're further in to serve us because you are serving them. And we've established who servants are. So, okay, and look at the words. Every citizen in Canada is an election of members of the House of Commons or of a legislative, okay, legi, okay. Legal is the oldest form of prostitution, hence gal. And where would you take a gal? You take her to a hotel, because that's where you take hoes, right? Maybe you want a little more, so you take her to a motel. Anyhow, and not be qualified for membership therein. Everything's about the ship now. Annual sitting of legislative bodies, who cares? Mobility of rights. Take out the M and you have O, and Bill I tie of rights. So you can have all the fundamental rights in the world, and it says, oh, you have the right to move and gain livelihood. Okay, you're back to lies. So if you don't understand the fact that you're already living, maybe you want to deal in livelihood, and you'll try to go out and make a living out of something that doesn't exist, and you'll start signing for things all over the place, people. So obviously that doesn't mean much. So you have the right to enter in, remain in, and leave Canada. I said Mark Simser is no longer a Canadian. That guy is dead. I had everything certified through the Attorney General's office. They know I'm not a terrorist / enemy to the state because I'm not a citizen. I took this to the Court of Queen's Bench. I dropped it off in their laps. I've dropped this off, man. I even have calls going down to Harper's office, for God's sakes. And I have this stuff all recorded and backed up at several friends' places. So, anyhow, I am who I say I am, and I am not some fictitious bullshit person, and nor do I running around signing government contracts, because I'm just not into dealing with cons. My mother told me not to deal with cons. So it says that's the only thing here you have the right to. Then it says to move and to take up residence in any province. Let me ask you something, people. Okay, you live in Canada. You know, let's say you live in Alberta or you live in Canada. Can you live in Canada? That's just a name on a piece of paper. So you're telling me that you fools all live in Canada or you live in Alberta? Come on, people. If you're buying this, I got some swampland in Florida to sell you. Okay, now. So all you people running around, oh, I got rights and I got the life and liberty and secure I tie of the person. Well, that's not your person. So they're telling you that they have legal rights. And it says everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. They have the right to life, liberty, and security of their person, because this is not your person. Okay, it never will be. And it says right here, everyone. Are you a one? Are you? Are you a one? Come on, people. Wake up. You tell me, what's his face there? Pierre Elliott Trudeau there ripped off Canada. That's Petro-Canada, by the way. Pierre Elliott Trudeau ripped off Canada. Even his son. There's a joke. All these politicians, they tell you that they're a bunch of liars, and then you'll deal with men. No thanks. Maybe you want to deal with Republicans, because everybody knows we like to lie in pubs because they can. So I'm sorry, people. It's just time to wake up. And I'm not being nice about this because I'm tired of being nice. I'm not helping anybody. If you can't see the validity in what's going on here, obviously, well, you belong being treated like you're getting, because how can God respect you when you don't have enough respect to respect yourself? And then you're going, oh, they're doing all these ungodly things to me. Well, of course they will. You signed up for sin in a pagan's world. And if you want to pay again, I'm sorry, man. Don't you run around and say, oh, I got no contracts with you, when you got contracts with these people. So then it goes on to say, everyone has the right to be secure against unreasonable search or seizure. Again, are you a one? I don't think so. Then it says everyone has the right not to be arbitrarily detained. Here's a one. Okay, so we're not going to arbitrarily detain this, okay, guys? Does that make you guys feel better? Now, it says everyone has the right on arrest or detention. You know what that sounds like to me? Obviously, they're going to put you in arrest, and they will detain you, right? And it says here, everyone has the right on arrest or detention to be informed. Let me see these forms. Of the reasons, therefore, to retain and instruct counsel without delay. Now, only a slave would retain and instruct, count, and sell. They will sell their services, their advice, and they'll put your balls in a vice, and they will count, and they will sell this to you. Maybe you like diesel, dye sell. I don't know what you people like, but let me tell you, the words are right there. So you better people wake up and be informed of that right. So they have to give you forms of some sort. Then it says to have the validity of that detention determined by way of habeas corpus. How many people you have certified habeas corpus that's been ran through the Attorney General's office? Not a goddamn one of you. I'll tell you now, I have them. Okay, people. And the last time I submitted a habeas corpus for a buddy, you know what happened? The Attorney General's office got a call. That notary wound up getting a call saying, you better not use you better not allow these monkeys to use your services again, getting stuff notarized. And then to top it off, he was able to fly to Cuba like not even a week later, because he didn't even have a criminal record, because they deal in bylaws. They don't deal in the law. And we sent something in, which is a habeas corpus, saying, listen, this is the law from the Creator. Now, unless you can prove otherwise, I'm sorry, we're not sinners. And my buddy even called me up, and he's like, yeah, thanks, man. You know that, and the judge, my buddy goes to court, and he says, I'm conforming a court of public record, which means everything's going on record, so in case there's any fraud, we have records to come back to. You know what that judge says? And I even have it recorded. You know what that judge says? He says, you're not convening a court of public record in my law, in my court, so effectively, and I've got this recorded. So effectively, what he's saying is, don't you come in here thinking that you're going to use all these forms and use these forms against us. We're going to run in the flesh, voice to voice, mano a mano, in the private, and that's where I'm going to screw you and then ask if you understand these charges, if you stand under me, because I stand on a pedestal above you. So now, people, and that's above your Christian name, and that's called overhead, and they will charge you for that. That's what the letter R means for. So then it says to be released if the detention is not lawful. We've established that these people do not deal in the law, they deal in bylaws, and anybody who can afford to buy the law, say like laid law, obviously they're laying the laws because they buy these laws, B-U-Y, and they call them B-Y laws, is not lawful. These people established they don't deal in the law. How can they deal in the law? They don't deal in the law. This is unnatural. This is on paper. It's so unnatural, in fact, that they cut down trees to do it. I don't see God's laws, the Creator's laws, cutting down trees. Okay, people? So then it goes on to say proceedings in criminal. You want to talk about criminal. Now, if you've agreed to be this person and you've signed up for this, hence it through the social insurance program, you're insuring their program, and obviously they're all about the rows, the pros, and the grams, and your body is measured in so many grams, which in fact is measured in LBS, or BS, bullshit, in pounds. To be informed without unreasonable delay of the offense. So they're trying to rip you off offense, to be tried within a reasonable time. Not to be compelled to be a witness in proceedings against that person in respect of the offense. We come back here and it says, with respect to any period before the coming into force of the subsection, subsection 7 does not have the effect of conferring on a person any rights, powers, privileges, privile ledges. These are ledges of knowledge, ledges of money, or imposing on a person any obligations. So to ob and lie and gate yourself and do ties or liabilities. Okay, so this is coming straight through. This is coming straight through the Citizenship Act, people. You can see where I'm going with this, right? So obviously, Okay, I'm not to be compelled to be a witness in proceedings against this person, because obviously, why would I? This person's dead. If the government, like they have here, they want to sign for anything, you let them sign for things as sinners, because here it states after descendants that they are supposed to protect the Christian people, and I am a Christian, Christ I am, to be exact, and they're supposed to protect us, and it says right here, there's the after descendants and all that stuff right there, and this is good. Specimen, obviously they're dealing with species of men, seals, books, and all Canadian posts abroad, a road, and in all foreign blah 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 posts of Canada that I have the authority of. Look at the words. She's not even in a compartment, she's in a department of foreign affairs. Okay, so this is good across the globe, people, with anybody who deals with a de facto government. Now, I'm not even putting down the government, but if you want to talk about criminal and you run around and agree to get into a social insurance number, SIN, or SS, Nazi Germany, Social Security, Nazi Germany, right? You know, Germany, maybe you live in Hellas, Spain, or should I say Hellas, Spain, and you like to say hell-o to people. I'm sorry, man, but, you know, I say it, I use that as a common term, but I don't actually mean hell-o or Halloween, right? I'm just not into how-o can you go or how low. So all this stuff here is bullshit, to be presumed innocent, until Roe proven guilty according to law in a fair trial in a public hearing by a dependent. Says independent, but it's obviously, if you're in and you're dependent, you're pretty dependent by an impartial tribunal. I'm part all tribunal. So of course they will give you a free 30-day trial, as a Christian man named Dan says. And I know nothing about Dan. I just like this guy because he's the only one I see keeping shit straight. And to be presumed innocent. Well, obviously, there's no sense yet until you're proven guilty, and according to law in a fair trial. Now, how can they have a fair trial when the judge works for the court, the court clerk works for the court, the crown works for the court, and then they say we have no liabilities because that's what the crown says. So, and you look at the words crown, and you take out this, you have C and row and N, right? It's like Sears Roebuck, C-R-S, Roebuck. I'm telling you, people, it's time to get off this ship. Their money is fictitious and ain't worth shit. I've got toilet paper that's worth more than their cash, and I can do something with it like blow my nose or wipe my ass. So you people better wake up here. And I'm not talking down to people. I'm just telling it like it is, because I'm tired of all these people playing all nicey and artsy fartsy. Well, I'm sorry, but the truth is a big slap across the face, and there's nothing nice about it when you wake up. And I'll tell you, I'd rather have, I'd rather not be living a lie and trying to live the truth as hard as it is, as opposed to running around being a person and telling them that I'm a criminal, crime in all, just add another L, C rhyme in all, and of course they'll go into court and they'll go, well, that's criminal, Your Honor, and of course you'll go, yeah, C rhyme in all, I see rhyme in you because you've agreed to be a sinner. And then they're going to go to court and they're going to, well, I have nothing to do with that contract. And the judge's going to go, you know, it looks like you signed here, and I would say that's pretty common to the court and common to you that we have your sin at your at sin. We have this. So people, please. Goes on to say all this stuff, not to be found guilty of any act or omission unless, well, yeah, obviously, they're telling you. So myself, people, I'm not a person. I'll never be a person. And anybody comes up to me and tries to tell me I'm a person after all the stuff I've did and had certified through the Attorney General's office, that would be fraud on their part, because I will not energize a contract even if people drugged me up and put a gun to my head and made me sign something, because I'll tell you now, it ain't going to happen. I'll meet my maker first before that happens, because I have more faith in my maker than I do in men. Men equals lies, equals bullshit, equals untruth. You want to talk truth? God equals truth, and the truth requires free words. There. That's how easy the truth is. We don't even need words. You know, I can throw my dogs a piece of steak. They'll appreciate it. Did I have to talk to them? No, obviously not. So now that we've established all this, everything gets certificated, it's all bullshit, and we just established that you can have the right to, religion in jail, you can have the right to whatever you want in jail, you just don't have the right to get out and run around. That's about it. Treatment or punishment, again, everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment, and everyone, again, are you a one self-incrimination. A witness who testifies in any proceedings has the right not to have any incriminating evidence so given used to incriminate that witness in another proceeding. So if the cop gets up on stand and he incriminates himself, well, they don't care because they deal in crime and they'll say it's just us, not you, and that cop works for the bench, the judge, the bank, and, well, even if he incriminates himself or perjury, it doesn't really matter, because they'll let him go and say that you can't use this in another court case. And they'll seal that court case off. So if you people think you're going to sue these people and that, please, people, get out of this whole financial obligation thing. It's just all bullshit. You know, it's like I can't keep it any simpler than that, you know. Even certificate and that. I've read that in other videos. So the bottom line, people, is this, okay? If you're going to run around and you're going to sign these contracts stating that, yeah, you agree to be a person when you're not a person, you're a retard. And if you owe these people money, like I owed Canada Revenue, I paid all that up, right? Well, I didn't owe them anything. My last tax, whenever I had a credit and all that stuff, that was that. Then it turned out afterwards, right? Like all these people, the courts, I even still have copies of all my paid fines and that. So I don't owe anybody shit. Then I said I'm not a Canadian. I said, listen, you know what, guys? You guys can all go and take a flying leap off because you guys are all dead. Pretend to be alive when you're all dead and you're a bunch of sinners. And I've just had it with pagans. I have records of everything. And the bottom line is, I mean, I could even sell the debt that I've created on the government and the cops and the whole 9 yards. Do you see me trying to sell that debt to make it rich? No, because that's a fool's gold, people. And let me tell you, Jack and the Beanstalk, you want to talk about a fool's gold. You want paper that's worth nothing?